Welcome to the Sports Card Strategy Show, brought to you by nooffseason.com, where you can get unlimited personalized advice to build your sports card investment portfolio. Get a free 30-day trial now at nooffseason.com. You won't be sorry. Our show today is brought to you by Graybo's Sports Cards. They're a local hobby shop owned by Gray Burnett, Ryan Fitz, and Duke Denny One-Time Dodson, and is located in the Arts District of Richmond, Virginia. Graybo's sports the best selection of raw and graded singles in the Mid-Atlantic and a wide variety of wax. Listeners of Sports Card Strategy can receive a 10% discount on any purchase at graybos.co by entering the code STRATEGY2023. Graybo's also now breaks on Whatnot and or Drip 5 nights a week, including baseball, basketball, football, and even wrestling breaks. Use the link in their IG bio at Graybos_cards to get a $15 credit after your first purchase on Drip. Follow all of Graybo's news and updates on Instagram at Graybos_cards. Don't forget that all of the data we use on the Sports Card Strategy Show comes from MarketMoversApp.com. Get 20% off MarketMoversApp.com today by using the promo code NOOFFSEASON. That's after a 14-day free trial. Use the promo code NOOFFSEASON at MarketMoversApp.com today. All right, it's time for some sports card strategy. Here are your hosts, Paul Hickey, Kendall the Lefty McKee, and the Dr. Crack, Chad Guell. What's up, everybody? I'm Paul Hickey. I'm joined by Lefty McKee and Andy Cason from Football Card Quest. Dr. Crack Chad Guell unable to join us today, but our thoughts and prayers goes out to his family as he's dealing with the loss of his father. He posted that on Instagram, so I'm not breaking any news there, Dr. Crack. We love you. We're thinking of you. But Andy Cason, welcome to the show, my man. How you doing today?
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm doing good, man. Happy to be here. Only a couple teams left, 3-0 in the NFL, and my Buccaneers have a doubleheader tonight going up against the Eagles. Last two undefeated teams going at each other. So I'm pumped up, ready to talk some football.
Awesome. Your Buccaneers, Deborah Roberts' Baker Mayfield, 2-0. Going against the Eagles. Should be a good game tonight on Monday Night Football. NFL Week 3 concluding tonight on Monday Night Football. And we're excited to talk football cards with you today and sports cards with all of you. Lefty, how you doing, man?
Overall, very well. All of my teams happened to win pretty much this weekend. It was just a good time. The Browns rolled. The Texas A&M Aggies just played really well, and the Rangers are probably going to win the division. Man, what a weekend! But Andy, I gotta ask you a question: should the NFL keep doing doubleheaders on Monday night? I'm a huge fan of that.
Really? Well, you know, with the additional Week 18. You know, this is the way the new schedule works out. I don't see anything against it. You know, I think we're ready for the doubleheader on Monday night, and yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm with you guys.
Want more Monday night games? I mean, come on.
I'm with you guys. You got to keep innovating. You know, you got to keep innovating to be relevant, and the NFL, I think, has always done a great job of that. I think they've kept the game entertaining. They've kept the game pure. They've changed rules when they have to. They've done some things to prevent injuries, to continue to keep, you know, the most important players on the field. And now they're continuing to do a great job keeping the fans engaged. So I agree with you guys. I love it. And speaking of keeping the fans engaged, let's get some live chat love here on the Sports Card Strategy Show. We are a long form podcast for the podcast apps who happens to stream live on YouTube. And so for that reason, we want to give love to those of you who are in the live chat right now. Brian Steeler 714. Good morning to the Cardboard Brothers, Sisters, Duders, Evan Bell in the house from Richmond, Virginia, where Graybos is. Oh My Shoes, of course, the original Duder in the house. Janelle Shoe, Cousin Shoe, as she's now known, coined by Oh My Shoes. Cleo Cards from Cleveland, Ohio, the site of the 2024 National. Pumped about that. Luke Menkel, Bert Fields, Craig's Cards 11. Joel Kaplan, all in the house at the top of the show here, leading it off strong. We're going to continue to give live chat love throughout the show, guys. So even if you're coming in throughout the show, we're going to give live chat love to everybody. We got our L of the week, W of the week, buy, sell, audience Q&A. Drop them in the live chat if you're here. We're going to get to you. We're going to bring in Connor, our head of content at nooffseason.com, to bring in some live chat love throughout the show. Derek Kunzman in the house. Okay, Cunny Cards on Discord. Derek Kunzman, love it. Cunny Cooney. I say Cooney, but Derek, is it Kunzman or Kunzman? Cooney, Cunny Card. Don't know. Lefty?
I think it's Kunzman.
Cooney Cards. All right, there it is. Okay, Lefty, real quick. I want to talk about a couple different things before we get into L of the week. One of them is the fact that we are now integrated with Whatnot. I'm going to explain what that means here in a second, but we want you to follow us on Whatnot if you're already on Whatnot, and you can do that by going to nooffseason.com/whatnot. That is going to redirect you to the quick link to follow us on Whatnot. So go to nooffseason.com/whatnot. We are no off season on Whatnot. And if you are not on Whatnot yet, we want you to get $15 off your first purchase there by going to, get ready for it, it's a different URL, everyone. It's whatnot.sportscardstrategy.com. That's whatnot.sportscardstrategy.com. That will get you $15 off your first purchase on Whatnot if you are not on the platform yet. And so, Lefty, what are we going to be doing there, my friend? We're going to be disrupting Whatnot because while there's a lot of great breakers out there, no disrespect to the breakers, it's part of the hobby. We know it's all part of entertainment in the hobby. We get it. But we are not about breaking. We are not about participating in breaks as a sports card strategy. We're about participating in breaks for fun, for entertainment. But we don't recommend it as a way of actually making money.
Look out.
I don't know what Andy is choking on right now, but we hope he's okay.
Keep the latte in your mouth.
For those of you watching on YouTube, Andy is choking. For those of you listening on the podcast apps, this doesn't matter to you as he continues to choke. JG is in the house. Good morning. We're getting the week rolling. Dustin Bailey in the house. Super early for a West Coaster. DJ B hip hop. Love it. I love me some hip hop. Are you a DJ, Dustin Bailey? That's awesome. We might have to converse on Discord about that. And Greeny Green in the house. Greeny Green was a giveaway junkie on Whatnot for about 7 months. Shane Graham in the house. All right, now that Andy's breathing again, let me continue. So what we're doing is we're disrupting Whatnot. What do I mean by that? We're not going to be on Whatnot breaking. We don't have the inventory to break. We don't think it's a great sports card strategy. We're going to sell singles only on Whatnot, guys. But we're not just going to sell any singles. We are going to bring the same sports card strategy content that you have come to know and love from us on this channel and on the podcast apps to Whatnot. This will know about us yet, who might be on Whatnot, and this will allow all of you who already knows us and loves us to get more great sports card strategy show content on Whatnot. We want to be relevant. We want to do things that make sense. We want to be valuable. We don't just want to get on and like spin a freaking wheel for like an hour and talk about, I don't know what people are doing. We want to get on. We want to have great content. And so our first show is going to be October 25th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. So for all you West Coasters who are trying to get up early for the live stream, we appreciate you. We're not going to make you get up early, but we're going to go singles only, sports card strategy, singles only, and giveaways, premiering October 25th at 8:30 p.m. Central, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. Why is that date important, Lefty? Tell the people. What is important about that date? What's happening? What are you pumped about?
That is Wembanyama's first game in the NBA. And I'm excited about this. I think this is something that we could be, this could be something that we do going forward where we just spend big games watching them with each other. Like just big moments of sports. We're going to basically live stream me and Paul watching the game together, and then we're gonna give away and sell some things and just have some fun, and we're just gonna have singles only is a hilarious branding. Singles only in the Sports Card Strategy show stream for Wembanyama's first game with the San Antonio Spurs, and
the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah, it's going to be a good game. I mean, Wemby, we all hope, like, knock on wood, he's not going to be injured. We all hope he's going to, like, make it through the preseason okay and actually debut that day. But yeah, man, we're going to get on there. We're going to watch Wemby a little bit. We're going to talk about what's going on in the NBA. It's relevant because it's his first game. We're going to live stream through the first half. And we're going to simulcast. Connor and Dr. Crack are going to be on youtube.com/Paul Hickey. So check that out. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. And you and I are going to be on Whatnot. And so we're going to be able to do a little bit of simulcasting with the boys on the YouTube channel while you and I are on the Whatnot channel. And we're going to bring strong Sports Card Strategy show content. We're going to sell our Wembanyama singles, right? We're going to give away some of our Wembanyama singles, and we're going to give away the premium packs. It's going to be a lot of fun. So nooffseason.com premium packs will be given away on the Sports Card Strategy, singles only and giveaways. No dead air time there. No spinning wheels, no duck races, any of that crap. This is going to be valuable content, Lefty. Talk about it.
Yeah, man. I think Wembanyama has a chance to change how the NBA landscape is going forward. I think Steph changed the game. I think Giannis created a way for a guy like Wemby to be here, and I think you're seeing a fusion player of both of these guys, and there's just more to come after him, and so we are going to sit down and watch one of the next great basketball players play, and we're going to watch it with you guys. There's content. You're going to see a raw and real Paul versus Kendall. We're probably going to have little prop bets within each other. Probably.
If you haven't seen a raw and real Paul versus Kendall, it's actually pretty fun.
It's hilarious. Most of the time around Kenny Pickett, usually.
Hold that thought. He looked good last night. Hold that thought, Lefty.
I turned it off.
So that once again, that is go to whatnot.sportscardstrategy.com to join Whatnot and get 15% off. I guess you could probably create a different Whatnot account if you wanted to get around that, or if you're already on Whatnot and you don't want to create a different Whatnot account to get the $15 off. Just follow us, nooffseason.com/whatnot. Thanks everybody for allowing us to do that promo. We hope to see you there. Okay, so a little bit more live chat love before we get into L of the week. And I actually have a question I wanted to ask Andy, because Connor made me think of something that was pretty cool. That is a great question for Andy. So anyway, real quick, JG in the house. Dustin Bailey is a rapper. Love that. Groups are Lil Effect and White Collar Rhymes. Yes, we will definitely talk about rap sometime. Bob Graff in the house. He seems like he might be part of the football card quest. Welcome in, football card questers. Card Vibe in the house. Okay, so Andy, I want to ask you a question. And Lefty, I think you'll like this too. So Connor made me think of this. Comparing fantasy output related to card prices and volume and trying to find a correlation is something that Connor and I are thinking about putting together some content for nooffseason.com. This is what you do, Andy. Like, this is what you do. Like, this is kind of how you got started. Tell us about kind of how you got started marrying together fantasy football and football cards, and what types of correlation you still see to this day between what's happening in the fantasy football world around hype, around who's next, around who's relevant, and how that correlates to football card prices.
Yeah, there's a ton of correlation, but there are some lines you've got to draw in the sand where they don't correlate. So just at the very basic level, most people probably understand this, but fantasy points are production. Their receptions, their yardage, their touchdowns. That's what makes up fantasy points. So the more fantasy points a player has, that means the more production that they had on a field. And production is what generates highlights. So just from a sheer media hype perspective, Look at Tyreek Hill. Look at Raheem Mostert and Devin Achane yesterday for the Miami Dolphins. Big highlights, big fantasy point performances, big spikes in their rookie card. But where we didn't see the spike is a guy like Raheem Mostert. And you may be wondering why. Well, that's because he's a 31-year-old running back that has been around the league for a while, and he's not really generating the type of fear of missing out element that drives a lot of big price spikes in the hobby. Mm-hmm. So that is one thing where we have to add in ourselves as a sports card strategist that is not taken into account when you're just looking at like a seasonal or daily fantasy. If you're putting a roster in on DraftKings, or if you're just doing prop betting, you don't really care how old they are. You're just looking at that specific matchup, that specific week, or that specific season. Where the most closely correlated fantasy format to sports cards would be a dynasty league, where you're stuck with these players after you do your startup draft until you cut or trade them. And then you just get to draft amongst the rookies every year after that. So you're not drafting a guy like Raheem Mostert early at all, maybe at the very end, just as a guy to help you get through a specific season or a specific game. But that's not a guy that you're investing in long-term. So that's where, when you look at dynasty, especially dynasty super flex, where you're prioritizing quarterbacks, because you can start two of those guys on a weekly basis. And just on average, quarterbacks, because they touch the ball every single play, they're going to output anywhere from, 15, 20 to 40, 50 points on a more consistent basis than a lot of wide receivers and running backs. And of course, there's a few of those running backs and wide receivers you do see sprinkled in there with the quarterbacks, just because they do have such a high output of production, which is fantasy points. So that they're just at a base level is a strong correlation to how you can see the demand spike for these players' rookie cards. But then what we're really trying to do in fantasy is predict future breakouts. And that's where fantasy football analysts are super important. Because I think if you look at just the community, the fantasy football community as a whole, or you look at that kind of sector of football as a whole, you have the most data scientists, the most engineers, the most mathematicians that you will find anywhere, because so much of it is tied to analytics and understanding the statistics that you want to look at that predict future breakouts. And with so much money being bet on fantasy football, whether it's dynasty, seasonal, daily, every week DraftKings is giving out millions of dollars. So these guys are putting in a ton of research every week, every month, every year to predict tomorrow's news today. And so what they're doing is they're looking at players' athletic profile as they come out of college. They're looking at how well they did on their team coming out of college. And then, the team that they're going into and the coaching, how they like to use the personnel, how, the different type of packages they like to scheme on the field. And from there, we can start to predict who might have success. And then we start to see things like snap share increase. We start to see things like routes run increase. And all of a sudden we start to see the targets increase. And even if that player hasn't had the big 4 touchdown game yet, we're seeing those opportunity markers go up. And we know the player has the athletic ability going back to college. And if all those boxes check up, then all of a sudden you've got yourself a prime candidate to break out. And so that's where the fantasy football is so critical in with sports cards.
Yeah, check out Football Card Quest. YouTube channel, patreon.com/football cards is where you can get more of Andy. That is exactly what Andy's doing on a daily basis, is correlating future performance spikes to not only fantasy football, but especially what football cards are available at a good price for those prospects, and forecasting when they're probably going to break out so that you can have that flippable window of the football cards. So Football Card Quest, part of the nooffseason.com sports card network, which we'll talk more about on future episodes. Little teaser there for everybody. What is the sports card network? We'll be talking about that more as we go. But I see Mo in the house, Mohammed Nahar. I saw Ryan V. McKinnon says, I'm married. Can I still join you on Whatnot for singles only? Absolutely. We want to see you there, Ryan. Love that. In the live chat, everybody start to let us know your L's and W's of the week, as well as dropping in your questions for us. We're going to get to all of you on this episode. Primetime Card says, I wish football cards weren't 90% driven. Lots of good talent that aren't quarterbacks. I'm wondering if they mean weren't driven by only quarterbacks, maybe wants to see more skill positions. I think that's where Andy is really good in his content, not only at quarterbacks, but also basically the entire 11, like, well, minus the offensive line, but the entire 11, like who's, what tight ends are going to make an impact, what wide receivers, what running backs, even on the defensive side of the ball. Are there opportunities on the defensive side of the ball? Andy covers it all at Football Card Quest, so you got to check that out. And all right, I'm going to jump into my L of the week, guys. It's kind of a funny one, actually, because I don't really have a card-related L right now, which is good news for me. I'm still on a roll. I'm still hot with the cards. So the L of the week for you guys is that if you're not listening to the Overflow show, it's a huge L, because credit to Lefty and Chad. The Overflow show, they are bringing it so strong on the Overflow show. So that's every Friday. You do have to be a premium member of nooffseason.com. So either get a free 30-day trial at nooffseason.com if you're not a premium member, or go to premium.sportscardstrategy.com and you can listen to it on Spotify, but it's worth it. And the L of the week that I thought was really funny is somebody submitted a question, and it was about a Barry Sanders documentary that's coming out on Amazon Prime. And the way they worded the question is that, do you guys think that the upcoming documentary on Prime called Bye Bye Barry is going to drive a spike in Barry Sanders football card prices in November when it comes out? And Kendall and Chad each answered it about Deion Sanders, not Barry Sanders. So I thought that was really funny as an L of the week, because neither one of them were really paying attention to the question. And then I was like, I could see where maybe they thought because the member asked that it's coming out on Prime, that they thought Coach Prime instead of Amazon Prime. But they were just so focused on Coach Prime that they just went down this rabbit hole about a documentary coming out on Deion Sanders that doesn't exist. It's on Barry Sanders.
No
Bert
way.
Fields knows what I'm talking about. He listened to the show, saw the show. Andy, what do you think, though? What do you think about like this documentary coming out on Barry Sanders called Bye Bye Barry? Before we get to Lefty's L of the week, what do you think about this in terms of like, will this kind of thing drive prices for a guy like Barry Sanders?
I think a little bit. Yeah, I think a little bit. Barry Sanders has a very strong collection base to begin with, and a lot of people are grade chasing that 1989 score. If you look at the value differences between the PSA 8s, 9s, and 10s, but then you have I see Barry Sanders solds all the time mixed in with the ultra modern. I mean, people are after those downtowns, the kabooms, any type of ultra rare, ultra modern Barry Sanders. People are going to collect them. So I never see those auctions go too far undervalued. I think he's just always going to have, because we've never seen a player quite like him in the wiggle that he had, the elusiveness that he had, and the career that he put up in just a short amount of time. So, I don't ever see his market really dipping too much. At the same time, I don't think it's going to generate some crazy spike or big spike, but I think it, just gives a little bit of bump of relevancy, and getting in the limelight. So it always helps.
Yep. Good call. All right, Lefty. You heard about the wiggle? Over to you for your L of the week. What's your L of the week, man? Why are you pissed off?
Well, my L of the week was going to be something that I just dropped a little hint on, but the L of the week has to be misreading a question on the Overflow show, because what also happened was I realized shortly after that not only did I miss that one, But then there was somebody asking if we should invest in Jameson Williams, the Lions wide receiver. I thought they meant Jameis Winston. And I was just like, no, you should not be investing in Winston. And so I think on my question, I was like, no, you shouldn't invest in Winston. We've been there, done that, blah, blah, blah. And then I just kept going. And then I was like, later on, I was like, I think he was talking about Jameson Williams from the Lions.
Lefty McKee. Multitasking.
Well, yeah, guys, I was out of town at a conference and all sorts of stuff, just trying to get it in. Anyway, so sorry about all that. That's my L of the week. Another L of the week is, what the heck is Panini doing, Paul? Why are they sending these in one touches? First off, that means somebody had to touch my card, put it in a penny sleeve, then put it in a one sleeve or a one touch or a golly.
Top loader.
But then the worst part about it, they put Scotch tape on the top. Everybody knows in the hobby, you don't do Scotch tape when you're sending things.
Yeah, like, that's horrible.
This is a massive L, and I'm mad about it. Not only is Andy's choking again from the Scotch tape.
Yeah,
Andy's this is just a bad move. Like, Panini can't get out of their own way, man. Like, they just can't. Not only are some of these off center, it's not as foolproof as like when the Tops Now came in and you just send them off. Like, some of mine are just not gonna gem, I don't think. And so I'm just mad about it. I think these arch cards could have been awesome. And not only do I have 10 cards in my hand from the Texas Longhorns, which is already an L for me, like, it's just the Scotch tape really just
kind of looks like a Texas Longhorns alternate hat. Oh, there's the Aggies. Okay, for those of you who don't know what Lefty's talking about, Derek Kunzman does. Derek Kunzman in the Discord, in the live chat, we love you, is fuming about Arch Prism card deliveries from Panini. And that is what Lefty's talking about. Greeny green, Panini gonna Panini. What they did was on the base Prism Arch Manning cards, they sent them in penny sleeves, top loaders with Scotch tape on them with a rubber band around the 10 of them. So it just looked like a janky move by Panini. And I can't help but, I wasn't pissed when I got them in the mail. I wasn't like, oh my God, Scotch tape. What the hell? But now that Lefty mentions it and elaborates a little bit, I totally agree. This is just a sloppy move by Panini. So good call. Sorry to everybody out there who got these in Scotch tape, but you know what I'm doing. Lefty, tell the people what I'm doing.
Just full on submit.
Yep. It's PSA's problem now,
yeah,
people.
Paul goes, it's PSA's problem now. I think the thing that worries me more about this, like the Scotch tape, that's an unprofessional move in the hobby. That is basically saying, I don't know what I'm doing. That's basically saying, I'm new to this. Like if you buy somebody, if you have a card that comes in and if it's not in one of these, I'm new to this. If it's in one of these and it's got Scotch tape on it, it's like I'm new to this, but I think the worst part about it, Paul, is that it's the idea that somebody is handling these one by one, putting them in penny sleeves, then putting them in top loaders, potentially dinging corners. Like, I just don't like the thought of that. I don't like the thought that I don't know. I don't know what I thought that the other would be. Maybe that like they all
maybe
put
like
them
how they do with Tops Now, right? Where they just it feels like they just send them off the production line into the little padded plastic case.
Yeah,
and they're just
where it's like
yes.
and it just shuts it. And I don't know if that's how it goes, but this honestly feels like they have a person that has the big chart thing, the big uncut things, and they're cutting them themselves and then one by one putting in there. I'm like, man, I don't know what kind of thing Panini's got going, but it feels rinky dink when they send them out like this. I don't know. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, and that was my L of the week from the Discord was Derek Kunzman, Cooney cards, same exact thing. So we're all on the same page there, people. Andy How do you feel about Scotch tape? And what's your L of the week?
Yeah, you can never get away from the Scotch tape bandit. He always seems to pop up when you least expect it, man. And it's a top loader destroyer right there. So I hate it. I hate
Ridiculous.
it. But
Ridiculous.
my L of the week, and maybe these guys got wrapped up into a bunch of Scotch tape. I don't know, but no, they've got all kinds of issues going on right now. It's the Chicago Bears, man. Chicago Bears 0-3, probably one of the biggest disappointments this far. I mean, I was off of the Denver Broncos. I know some people were getting back in on the Denver Broncos with the coaching change to Sean Payton. And maybe they do start putting it together, but the Chicago Bears right now are totally dysfunctional. 0-3 start. And I know a lot of people were in on Justin Fields because he has the athletic markers to say that he is a breakout candidate. But man, the coaching, the offensive scheming, it's really bad right now. And then the execution from Justin Fields, and they're trying to change up the way he executes. It's not working, man. So that I would say that probably the biggest L right now in the NFL.
Yeah, I've noticed that. To your point about the Bears, I have like a saved eBay search for a certain price range of cards with keywords in there related to like national treasures, kaboom, rookie patch autos, rookie ticket autos, things like that, just to kind of keep an eye on like some higher end stuff that I'm not necessarily going to buy, but I'm just curious about it. And I noticed that like there's been a ridiculous amount of Justin Fields listed, right? So does that correlate to basically a formula where when you have a unproven yet hyped coming into the season quarterback that starts to underperform, is that a time to just list their big cards and like just get out of big cards and try to get still maybe thousands of dollars back? Because like if Justin Fields ends up performing like Jalen Hurts did last year, now you're looking at like 5-figure cards, right? But is this a move of people to just basically try to get 4 figures from a player who might not even be worth anywhere near 4 figures like a couple years from now?
It's possible because, you still have a lot of people out there right now that are like, I'm buying the dip on Fields in hopes that he turns it around for this season. But there's a chance that they're so bad this year and Justin Fields plays so bad that they actually move on from him, similar to what happened with Trey Lance. Not similar because Brock Purdy came from the final last pick of the NFL draft in 2022, and the Bears are likely to maybe get another first number 1 overall pick next year, where there's so much deep quarterback talent in the draft this upcoming year. Between Caleb Williams and Drake May and these other guys. So, the Bears could potentially, like, if you think about it, Fields is on the 3rd year of his rookie contract. So this is when they need to make a decision. Do we move on from this guy, or do we just go ahead and tank the rest of the season and get that number 1 overall pick and go ahead and get a new quarterback on a new rookie contract? I mean, you could definitely look at doing that. I have seen like pretty much a 20 to 30% dip across the board, some even more, some cards that are a little bit lesser desirable, like some of your selects, some of your mosaics and stuff like that, down about 40% from where they were at heading into the season. So it is going to be challenging to get close to comps and maybe even just break even on a big card. But I do think his values go down even more here in the next few weeks as we head to like what is typically the mid-season lull, is what I call the mid-season lull.
Absolutely. So going over to the Denver Broncos, who you also mentioned, what do people do with guys like Jerry Jeudy, who I think, we're prospecting on guys like that heading into the season with lower dollar rookie ticket autos and stuff like that. I saw him get a little bit more involved yesterday, but to your point, Denver still doesn't really have it clicking on all cylinders just yet. So is there an opportunity to, do you still hold Jeudy, or is he somebody that you still buy into? What do you do with a guy like Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, those types of people on the Denver Broncos offense?
Well, you gotta hold those. Typically, those are guys you want to list in a buy it now, and then you sell them on a spike gain, whether it's due to increased role and opportunity they execute, or you start to get down to the end of the season now, and the team's making a playoff run. That player has a big performance there. I don't see the Denver Broncos being able to get to the playoffs this year. Judy ultimately looks like a hold to me right now because he still is pretty young. He's from that 2020 draft class, but his stock has definitely slowly declined. He's just kind of proven to be one of those guys who's good, but not going to break out to that great/elite level like you've seen some other 2020 draft class players like Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk. So, yeah, I think Jerry Jeudy, he's interesting because he did go to Alabama. He does have first-round draft capital, so those things kind of keep a solid collection base for him. But at the same time, I mean, you have a crowded wide receiver room. You also now have a new head coach who beat the table for drafting a wide receiver in the second round, who's a rookie. So more hype can easily build for Marvin Mims on the Denver Broncos than it can for Jeudy or Sutton. And it's not to say you can't make money on Jeudy or Sutton, but you have to now just adjust the entry price point you buy their cards at. You have to lower that a little bit. And you want to snipe those for a little bit lower. And if you can't, then don't snipe them.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. In fantasy, Matthew Berry, who's like the modern day godfather of fantasy football, he coined the term "don't hate the player, hate the ADP." And the ADP stands for average draft positions, basically the currency of fantasy football. And so I think you could change that around and make a new statement for cards. And it's not don't hate the player, but it's hate the price of the good card for that player. And I say good in quotations because I'm typically talking like a rookie ticket auto or something, like maybe a prism that's serial numbered out of a 50 or a silver prism rookie auto, something like that, and if the price point to get in on that card is towards the higher end of that draft class, well, I mean, I even if I like that player, I'm typically not going to buy in because I want to buy in towards maybe the middle of that draft class or the lower end of that draft class or surrounding draft classes when I'm comparing players against each other. And even if I don't like that player and that price point is there, I will buy in just because, there's a lot of then upside, especially if that player checks some of those boxes around the athletic markers, around the draft class and the age markers and stuff.
So
other networks might have the talented Mr. Roto, but we have the talented Mr. Football Card right here on the nooffseason.com sports card network. Andy from Football Card Quest. Kendall, you were about to ask a follow-up question. Go ahead, man.
I was. So, Andy, I mean, I'm assuming you're familiar with the crazy story of Tyson Bagent, who's the third string on the Bears roster. Basically, he's a second string or a Division II guy, and he comes up, makes the team, doesn't even belong in the NFL. Now he's third string. He does have Panini cards. Do you think the Bears throw him in at some point?
It's always possible. I mean, I think if you want to see what you got, then sure. Obviously, there's always an injury concern, but I think that with Justin Fields being on the third year of his rookie contract, this is a critical time to give him as much opportunity as he can possibly handle to see what he's made of. Get him a larger passing attempt sample size so you can make a good determination because, I mean, yeah, he's been a good runner. There hasn't been hardly any designed runs for him before yesterday. So that was something that they started to try and deploy yesterday, which was a positive. But, I mean, they got to get the pace of play up. They got to get the passing volume up. They got to scheme DJ Moore into a lot more first read type plays. I think until you do all that, there's no reason to go to a backup quarterback. I mean, Justin Fields had a great QBR in yards per attempt, and coming from Ohio State, he was a great passer. So I think until you can fix the offensive play calling and get this guy's opportunity markers up, I don't think you go to a backup quarterback unless he gets hurt.
Andy, great analysis. We're curious as to your win of the week, man. What was a win for you?
Yeah, so I sold a big one, and that was my Tua. I picked up a Tua Optic rated rookie green velocity PSA 10 at the National for $150 cash. Flipped that yesterday on the 70-point performance for the Miami Dolphins for double. So I sold it for 300. That was my big win yesterday. I had a lot more wins in the past couple weeks. I've actually done quite well to start this season with football cards and fantasy in some leagues. So yeah, that was the big one. The big one was Tua because I touted him quite a bit throughout the offseason just based on the pricing and the coaching and the skill position players around him. It just everything lined up for you to make a bunch of money on Tua. And so I hope everybody took that advice. I certainly took my own advice and feeling good today.
Love when you listen to yourself. Congratulations on the big win there. I think there's a couple things to unpack on that one. One is, you're buying Tua, a player that you believe in at the National, paying cash for a card that was already graded a PSA 10, optic green velocity, a little bit off of a base. So it's going to have a little bit of higher upside. You're saving on like shipping and any kind of sales tax fees, stuff like that, by buying it in person at the National. Then you're holding it while he's hot and you're selling it during a 70-point performance, which is almost an NFL record. So it's almost the perfect play. Great formula there. And just a real quick question before we go over to Lefty for his win of the week. Was it I think I know the answer, but was it a buy it now best offer or an auction?
It was a buy it now that sold at what face value of what I had it listed for.
They just binned it. You had it listed at 300 and they just binned it.
Bam. They just smashed the button.
They smashed the button, as you say on the Football Card Quest pod. Good stuff. Lefty, over to you for your win of the week, man.
Yeah, my win of the week is, I mentioned it earlier, but every team that I root for, Paul, pretty much every team I root for won this weekend. It was a great time. I don't think I was talking to my wife this morning. I was like, I root for some chumps. Like, I just root for the underdog. I don't know if it's like, I probably need to go to counseling to figure out why I do this, but I just root for people that are not on the top end of things. And man, they all won. So that's a W. And I think another W is this guy right here, Max Verstappen. Well, I had the card backwards. Max Verstappen won another race this weekend in Japan, and him and Red Bull and they all collected the championship, which is the Contenders Trophy that everybody is searching for at the end of the year, where Red Bull wins the league. They have won it way before the end of the year. They are killing it. Red Bull Racing. Absolutely dominating. I bought that car for about 170. It's worth about 190 right now. But I think towards the end of the year, when they get more and more press and hype, there's potential that he doesn't even race some of the last races and that they just put in a rookie and they're just like, yeah, Max, just ride off into the sunset with the best race career of all time already. It's just ridiculous. But I think this guy will go down in a couple of years as the most winningest F1 driver of all time. And that's why I'm saying buy in now. But he is my win of the week, where he's just continuing to kill it. And if anyone else cares, the McLarens got second and third. So Oscar Piastri got his first podium, which actually might even be a bigger deal. So, and he was upset. He was upset he got third place. He was like, I should have been racing better. And I love that tenacity and that in a driver, so.
Love it. OP. I'm down with OP.
Oscar Piastri. So both of my Sapphire first PSA 10s of both my McLaren drivers went up last night. The race was at 1 a.m., which was kind of crazy. But anyway. Crazy Lefty, race. That was my W of the week.
Congratulations, man. I have a feeling about you. I have a feeling that you're going to be rolling out some outstanding W's over the next year or so on this show, because I feel like you've been cooking some things up. You've hinted at them. Your Verstappen thing's going to come to fruition. You got some tennis in your portfolio, F1. Like, you're going into some places that I think a lot of people need to be listening to you and paying attention to. So props to Lefty McKee. Love the F1 chatter. There's going to be some opportunities, I think, to buy into F1 as the calendar year winds down here. And I love OP, down with OP. Good stuff. So wins of the week here for me. Most of them are related to the audience. I'm going to give a shout out to Rusty Emma Gart, who's in here, who says, "What's up, fellas? Morning card nerds. Go pack, go." Speaking of the pack,
wild win.
Just seems like Jordan Love is just another system quarterback in that Packers system. They've just been cranking them out for several decades now. You know, I don't even remember their names anymore. It's just the Packers.
I knew you were gonna come somehow bring this up.
Not a big fan, clearly.
It's just the Packers. I mean, it kind of doesn't matter who plays quarterback there, and then when they go somewhere else, they suck. So it all makes sense. Good looking out of Jordan Love right now. And I want to get into a couple other audience W's real quick. So Joe Lahaku is a new name on the channel. Joe Lahaku dropped some stuff in the live chat. But then, there's a lot of people that can't be in the live chat because we are super early in the morning on Mondays and Thursdays. And for those of you on the West Coast or Mountain Time or wherever, just not getting up early in your time zone, we've got Global from Australia. We've got Joe Lahaku from the Nordics. Joe Lahaku emailed me and said, "You ask people what they do with their money." Yes, I want to know what you do with your money because we're a show about flipping cards to make money, but we also understand, like, most everybody PCs. We want the hobby to be alive and well. We want people PCing. Chad flips to fund his PC. I know Kendall and Andy have PCs, and most of the audience has personal collections. So Joe Lahaku says, basically, I've been flipping cards for maybe 6 years or so, slowly building my portfolio at ComC, shipping cards to sell here in Finland. Started with $200 in 2016, and now my card sales are close to $20,000 a year. You asked where people spend their flip money, and I just want to shout out that I've spent 6 days holiday in Spain, 4 days in France, 4 days in Germany, full hockey gear, including 4 to 5 sticks, Pokemon cards for my kids, PlayStation 4, and Christmas presents for my family. My ultimate goal is that I spend $0 to buy a car. I've got a 2022 Peugeot, and so far I've paid every monthly payment with my ComC credit. So Joe Lahaku, aka Elias,
that is sick.
Darkstar 13 from Finland. Love it. That is a win. That is a win right there. Just wanted to shout it out. And we've got some other wins of the week going on Discord. So go check out our Discord. Go to sportscardstrategy.com and click the link to join the Discord. Kenny Pickett, Kendall. Kenny Pickett.
Come on.
Pickett looked good last night on Monday Night Football.
They're playing the Raiders.
At the Raiders. 235 yards, 2 TDs, no interceptions. Thanks to Marcus Peters, who dropped one right in his breadbasket. Should have been a pick six. I was so happy when Marcus Peters dropped that interception because I knew Kenny Pickett was off to the races from there. My guy, Kenny Pickett, 235 yards, 2 TDs for Mike Tomlin's 2-1 Steelers. Good work. Just wanted to rub that one in Kendall's face. And then, of course,
talk about how good of a coach Mike Tomlin is for a second.
I love Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, talk about system quarterback. Kenny Pickett. I mean, if he wasn't a first round quarterback, he probably would have been benched before this game.
I know. I love Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin, I think this is 16th year at the Steelers. Like they've had 3 coaches in the past, like, what was it, like 50 years? It went from
Cowher straight to Tomlin. Was it Chuck Noll to Bill Cowher to Mike Tomlin?
Every time they talk about that, I'm like, that is unprecedented. Like, that needs to be talked about more, honestly. Because, I mean, look at all the other revolving doors in head coaches at any sport and what we're doing. And there's just nothing like what the Steelers have done with 3 coaches. It's unreal. I'm in on Mike Tomlin.
Shout out to Brian Steeler 714.
So,
all right. Well, good call on Kenny Pickett so far, Kendall. He's 2-1, 2 TDs, no interceptions last night, and That's
And
a win for
Devontae
me.
Adams and Devontae Adams was still the spotlight of the game.
Yeah, Devontae Adams is just absolutely sick. That was what an amazing performance. But when Kendall has Kenny Pickett all over his face, it's a win for me. So I like it. All right,
I still think they are going to be last in the North.
We should probably bring in Connor now to talk about some audience L's and W's.
Bring in the better looking member of this Sports Card Strategy Show.
The best looking member of the Sports Card Strategy Show, Connor Barnett, head of content at nooffseason.com. What's up, brother?
Y'all can't be making me blush this early on a Monday.
Let's get into some audience. On a Monday, and he still looks that good.
Whew. I'm feeling it this morning, but let's hop into some audience love. We had a bunch of W's and L's of the week. Let's start with some L's. Burt Fields, Junior Caminero getting called up. I know a lot of us are feeling the same way. I'm sure Chad's got 15 cards over there at PSA waiting to get graded right now. So Caminero getting called up is definitely an L. What else we got? We have Card Snatcher, bought wax. That was their L. Ryan B. McKinnon.
They just bought wax.
Yep, that's an L.
Leaving Mostert on the fantasy bench. Yeah, that's tough. Always tough as a fantasy owner looking back from the week and realizing you could have done a lot better, especially if you take the L that week. Card Vibe. L of the week is buying Trevor Lawrence and Lamar instead of buying more Tuas. Oh My Shoes. Arkansas losing to LSU by a field goal. And then transitioning into the W's, Derek Koonsman has a bunch of Tua auctions ending last night and tonight.
That's a win.
Trevor Beagle bought a huge lot of 23 Bowman at like 40% of comps at a show this weekend. Dominguez 23 Bowman rolls gold out of 10 for $70. No comps, but thinks it's worth around $300.
Nice work, Beagle. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
40% of anything is awesome.
We got Card Vibe in the house. Bought 8,000 cards for $80. A lot of good W's this week from the fellas.
Elaborate on the $8,000 worth of cards for $80. That's amazing, Card Vibe. Wow.
Yeah. It says all ultra modern base Chrome first, base NBA Prism rookies, and NFL base rookies and inserts. 8,000 cards. Impressive.
That's crazy. Yeah,
well done. There's got to be. Lonnie Conley's just licking his chops right now at that. 8,000 cards for $80. He wants to go through. I bet Lonnie will help you go through those cards. That's awesome.
Moving along, we got Dustin Bailey. Bought a PSA Silver Prism of Nick Claxton for just $11. And sold it for $50 on a Whatnot, or actually got it from a Whatnot auction and sold it for $50. Good W. I actually like Claxton a lot, Paul. I don't know how you feel there.
I was going to ask you. What you think. I like his game. He's very intense and active. You know, he's always in the mix. I like him.
Yeah, high motor guy, a lot of athleticism, and I think he shot like 70% from the field last year on fairly limited minutes and almost averaged a double-double. So I like him. I think he's got some good upside. Janelle Shue sold her first graded card on eBay and made money on it. Learned a lot. Love it.
Congrats, Janelle. That's great.
That's a W.
Let's see. And rounding it off, we got Oh My Shoes. W of the week is Coach Prime getting taken down.
Okay.
Say that was an L for me. That was an L.
Prime
I am
hater.
riding the train.
Shoes is a Coach Prime hater. Okay. I see you, Shoes. Don't hate on Coach Prime. He'll bounce back. They got USC next week. That's going to be a game right there. Caleb versus Shadur. Let's go. Hopefully Travis Hunter gets healthy soon. The game needs him back. That's legit.
But I think that's going to wrap it up for me, fellas. I will be back towards the end of the show with some audience Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments. And we will try to get to them at the end of the show.
You're the man, Connor. You are our win of the week. Keep up the good work, man. We'll see you in a minute. And if you want to get in on the live chat love and you're not able to join the live chat, you can drop a comment below and we will shout you out on a future show. YouTube.com/Paul Hickey. You can DM me on Instagram at Sports Card Strategy, or you can email me at paul@nooffseason.com. Or if you're up for a little more chatter with the audience, join the Discord. Go to sportscardstrategy.com. Click the link to join the Discord. All right, guys, we're going to jump right into buying, selling, and getting into audience Q&A from there. So I'm going to go quick on who I'm buying, guys, but I think there's a dip on Ohtani. I see it at marketmoversapp.com. And if you want to get 20% off after a free 14-day trial, you can use the promo code NOOFFSEASON. But I see Ohtani 2018 Topps Chrome Pink Refractor PSA 10 down 34%. 2018 Stadium Club PSA 10, a little lower than the Pink Refractor, but it's down 33%. Another Pink Refractor, the 2018 Topps Chrome Pitching PSA 10 is down 32%. And then 2018 Topps Chrome 1983 Topps variation PSA 10 is down 28%. So the Ohtani dip. And then I think there's a basketball stock up. Last call for basketball, September 25th. Jalen Green, Cam Thomas, Scotty Barnes, LaMelo Ball, Chet Holmgren are all guys that I really, really like. And Connor is going to have an article later today at nooffseason.com for our buys and sells of the week. One for buys, one for sells. So if you want more details on the cards that I'm talking about for those guys, go ahead and check out nooffseason.com later today. A quick hobby tip from Marty Friel, the Friel deal. Related to buying. I like this a lot. He submitted it on the Sports Card Strategy Show and Tell. Keeping track of sellers that list solid raw cards for grading. So he basically, when he buys raw cards on eBay, he then keeps track of the ones that he ends up submitting to PSA to get graded because they were in good enough grading condition. Then he goes back and saves those sellers. Specifically for the purpose of buying raw cards from them. This is kind of an indicator that this seller just may not grade their cards and they might just list their cards on eBay. We've heard of Dr. Crack talk about avoiding the opposite, right? Avoiding buying raw cards from the sellers who are mainly selling graded cards. But this is kind of Marty's take on that. So I really, really like that for my buys of the week. I wanted to throw it in there. So shout out to Marty. Kendall, over to you for what you think and who you're buying.
I just want to say good morning to Mindy from West Virginia, first time listener on the live show. We're glad you're here, Mindy. Thanks for coming in from West Virginia. My buys are 3 quarterbacks and then 1 baseball player. So I cannot think of a better buy right now than Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has looked terrible over the first couple weeks, and I still am a Lawrence believer. So I am going to go out and say there's no way that the Jags lose like that to the Texans. Keep doing that. It's unreal. I would say Lawrence is a buy for me. Burrow is a buy for me for obvious reasons. And then Deshaun Watson. I think he's going to keep this Browns offense in the winning column. And obviously, Chubb's not there anymore. They're going to have to spread it out a little bit. They talked a little bit last week about how him and the coaching staff had some disagreements on how they were going to roll out the offense last year and then early part this year. And he said, we've got to go more towards a spread offense. That's what's not only going to benefit me, but also get us a better chance at scoring and getting in pay dirt. And so I think when they get to a position where they're on the same page, I think Deshaun, we saw last week about how he had, I think before last game, he was like at 20% on throws above, or 30 or 40% on throws above 20 yards, which is like, that was his bread and butter at the Texans. And then yesterday we saw him go for like 7 for 8 with over 100 yards, over 20 yards. So he was definitely dialed in. Him and Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore were definitely playing well. I think Watson could be a buy, but you got to look at, are you looking at making money? Are you investing in a guy who's a little bit creepy? So, that's what are you going to do there? But my baseball card buy, guys, we're back with a common name. And I'm going to present this and share my screen here. We're back with a common name. I think we are entering into a buy opportunity for Ellie De La Cruz, guys.
Ooh.
He is playing bad. He is not doing well. You can't really see it because the L and W of the week is covering it. but this chart just continues to go down over here, and where he's down 23.9% right now. So Ellie, I think, is going to be entering back into an opportunity where we can buy back in on his autos, and we can profit in the next season or in the off season. He's still an electric player. He's still going to be a guy that is going to go nutty at times in the games, and when he does, all the media will be all over it. I mean, this card, for instance, this card on September 3rd sold for $2,250,000, and it just sold yesterday for $625. Like, that's
a dip.
And like, I don't know if I can. Let's see if maybe I can pull it over. I don't know how to do this.
That's okay.
There we go. There we go.
See it? Nice
like
work.
That dip is just looking bad. So I'm going to be entering in some auctions this week. Hopefully I can snipe some going down. So nobody tell anybody else that Ellie De La Cruz is on a dip, because
nobody listened to the show.
Nobody
everybody's
do anything.
Yeah, stop listening. Stop consuming our content. It's too good. It's simply too good. Rusty and McGart and the live chat are hype about this. Great call, Lefty. Good work, man. Buy the dip on Ellie. That's strong. Very strong. All right, so you were buying some football, guys. I like it. I like what you were saying about the football guys. And speaking of football, let's get back over to Andy. Andy, what do you think about who Lefty's buying and who are you buying?
I saw him shaking his head about Trevor Lawrence. So
okay, curious to his thoughts here.
Yeah, I think that I think the Joe Burrow play makes sense. I think it's also very obvious. I think a lot of people are on that play, so I haven't seen a very large dip on Joe Burrow, even though the start to his season here has been bad. He's banged up with the calf still. The Trevor Lawrence play is interesting. I think you do have upside. I think as the season goes on, Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, they kind of start to gel a little bit better. But I mean, I've never been that high on Trevor Lawrence. I think a lot of what I see him on the field, he does have some struggles in making some clutch decisions in like some of his throws and some of his reads that he makes. And so from that standpoint, and compared to his prices, I'm like, I don't know if I could justify. I feel like there's still kind of like Justin Fields. There's probably still quite a bit of downside. Now, Trevor Lawrence is a franchise quarterback. I think he's good enough. I don't think he's elite. I don't think he's in that elite category with Burrow, Mahomes, and some of these other guys. Deshaun Watson, I get it. He looked great yesterday. This Browns team is incredible, top to bottom. But is he likable? Like you mentioned that, Lefty. Like, is he likable? You know, he's but the last week he was pushing the refs. I mean, they missed that. I mean, he's just not. He doesn't seem like the same likable, affable guy that he was before the whole scandal. And I think for that reason, he still see like his Prism PSA 10 about $250, even though he's a quarterback. And you have guys from the 2017 draft class like Christian McCaffrey at like 175 for their Prism PSA 10, TJ Watt at like 150 for their Prism PSA 10. So, and those guys, you know, skill position players. I saw the comments in the chat a little bit earlier about skill position players and wishing that they got more attention. There's a lot of money to be made on them. I mean, I've crushed it on skill position players the last few years. This year has been no different. It's been fantastic. So that's who I'm buying right now. I'm buying some skill position players that have some nice dips in the market.
Doesn't want to give away too many secrets here.
Are you ready? So the first one right off the bat. Yeah. So the first one right off the bat that jumps out to me is Jalen Waddle for the Miami Dolphins. So you've got this incredible team that's 3-0. You've got so much focus right now on Tyreek Hill and the running backs and the rookie running back Devin Achane. We got the fastest ball carriers in the NFL on the Miami Dolphins, and Jalen Waddle is no exception. To this rule. And in fact, he's just had a slow start to his season and battling an injury this latest game. So he is a prime candidate right now to buy low on an injury dip, plus being a skill position player, plus being from the 2021 draft class. So you have a high variety and print run of his rookie cards. But we got to remember, he's a number 6 overall pick from 2021 who played incredible in college, and he has this connection with Tua. So it's only a matter of time before we see this massive spike game from Jalen Waddle, and I think he's an easy guy to capitalize on from a skill position standpoint. I'd be targeting, like, if I could find his rookie ticket auto for under $50, like if that's from Optic, Contenders, there may be some auctions ending today, tomorrow, because there's a lot of consignment houses and dealers that are going to continue to put cards in auction, regardless if that player's hyped up or not.
That's
They're just going to move. They're just going to move product. So every Monday, like, part of my process is to do a deep dive on all these guys that are good athletes. They have great opportunity when healthy. They're just down right now, whether it's from injury, whether it was just a situational type of game where they didn't get the opportunity, and or so forth. And so I'll snipe those guys.
That's a great point, Andy, where you're the auction, the consigners don't care about the hype spike. They have their process where they intake their cards. It takes them about a month or whatever, how long it takes them to get them up and listed, because they've got so many cards. And it's counter to what we talk about. It's counter to selling at the right time, selling during a hype spike, buying during a dip. Like, they're not paying attention to any of that. They're just listing cards. So that's a great call. You could probably go get some Jalen Waddle cards listed at the wrong time, perhaps. And I love the Jalen Waddle call. And Jason Van Castle from the Football Card Quest audience is in the house. Just wanted to give him a quick shout out. Go Bills Mafia. Let's go, Andy. So Andy, keep going, man. Just wanted to give that. I just love where you're going here. So you got more buys, or you want to segue into your sells?
Yeah, I think we could say, I mean, I could go on. You know, obviously there's more buys. There's another pretty obvious one. You have the Rams playing pretty good right now on offense. And I think you've seen, you know, when Matt Stafford's healthy and, you know, the Rams are going to be firing, and their offense has definitely looked pretty solid through the first 2 weeks. I think a lot of Rams fans are excited. They got a pretty big fan base out there being in LA. And you look at them just trading away Cam Akers. Kyron Williams has stepped into a rare bell cow role, and he did see a small hype. I was able to make a couple double ups on some of his rookie ticket autos where I was buying them on ComC for $10. So I turned around and doubled up on those. But I'm still seeing opportunities that go over to eBay going undervalued, just because, you know, he doesn't have like a daily spotlight. And in the NFL and in football cards, there's what I call hyper relevancy. And so if that person's not actually playing and putting up highlights and on the top of the Twitter trending feed with their highlights, there's a good chance that their cards, especially as a skill position player, can dip quite a bit in auctions on eBay, only for them to spike in buy it now and auctions whenever they're hyper relevant again, which tonight, Monday Night Football, is another prime opportunity for Kyron Williams to be spotlighted. And he's a fifth round guy, so he doesn't have a ton of rookie cards. So I'm primarily focusing on like rookie ticket autos for $10. I think I can see a couple right now on eBay that are under that. So, you know, just massive opportunity for a guy that's started the season out like leading the NFL in targets and, you know, top 10 in our opportunity share, 4 touchdowns already. I mean, it's impressive.
You are the best at playing the schedule. You talk about that more than anyone else I know, and it's brilliant because with Monday Night Football, Lefty made the point, now there's 2 Monday Night Football games every week. There's also Thursday Night Football, Sunday Night Football. Looking at the schedule and almost planning your buys and sells literally around skill position players that are going to be on those games. You're not going to win all the time, but, you know, chances are you could do pretty well. So I think that's brilliant. Andy's the Jizza, the genius, the head of the nooffseason.com sports card network from Football Card Quest. Go check him out. Football Card Quest on YouTube and everywhere else, basically. Lefty, over to you, man.
Yeah, selling is a weird time for me in my sports because we're getting ready for the end of the year. We're just starting soccer, and then we're getting ready for the end of the year for F1. But I think there are some baseball players that I'm looking forward to selling. I'm looking forward to selling all my Corbin Carrolls here in a couple of weeks when they announce that he'll be the AL Rookie of the Year. I should have sold all of them earlier, but I'm gonna sell everything I have here soon. But I'm excited. We talked about this card the other week, but Sam Hartman out of 5, like that couldn't have ended up in a better situation for me. Only if actually the only better situation had been if he actually had pulled off a W against Ohio State. But I think Notre Dame will be in the college football playoff, or at least have a legit chance. And Hartman is a stud. And so I think I ended up with a pretty cool card here, and I'm going to put this up for auction here probably in the next week or so. I wanted to see how, because I have like almost zero money needed from this card, I was like, I just want to see if he wins against Ohio State. And he didn't, but he played really good. And so I'm excited about Sam Hartman. And obviously he's not going to be a great NFL player, so I don't want to hold that because he's like already like 28 years old or something like that. So I'm looking forward to how he takes this Notre Dame team pretty far. And it's cool to see Notre Dame good again. I mean, I feel like they're a team that everybody just is like, they're a classic, college football powerhouse, and it's cool to see Notre Dame being good. I don't know. I think it's cool. Probably other people out there that just want to barf all over it, but I also think it's cool that that USC is good again. I just like, that's exciting for me. So anyway,
I agree. I think like it's just more interesting when you have those teams that are in the hunt. And props to you, Lefty, for your patience on holding the Sam Hartman card till a relevant period in time. I just immediately dumped all of my Bowman Inceptions after I got crushed with the boxes I bought.
Well, I ended up having 4 out of the 5 cards. I had 3 quarterbacks that were starters, and so I was like, well, I'll hold them because and one of them I have Trevor Etienne. So I mean, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. So it's like, I mean, I have some good players. It's just didn't really turn out like I wanted it. So.
Yep. All right. Well, I am selling a few guys that are related to football, and we'll see if Andy agrees or disagrees with me before we segue into the audience. But I just think when you have a guy like Nick Chubb go down and all of a sudden Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt become relevant, and they're typically never relevant, that's a perfect time to sell their cards. So yeah. I think, Jerome Ford had 2 touchdowns this week. And we've never heard the sentence that Andy uttered earlier, which is something along the lines of the Cleveland Browns are unstoppable everywhere right now or something like that. Like, I think you got to sell Jerome Ford cards. He doesn't have a lot of cards, but I do know that like even Ryan Painter and Marty Friel, I think, had some Jerome Ford cards that they were selling. I think that's the time to do that for sure. Nico Collins, and another shout out to Ryan Painter, Nathaniel Tank Dell. Seem to be playing very well right now. Young wide receivers for the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud looking good at quarterback. I just don't know that this will continue where you would have young guys like Nico Collins, Tank Dell. Will they continue to play well throughout their career? I don't know, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you have their cards right now, you should probably sell them, because I just don't know that every week they're going to be hyper relevant, like Andy's saying. So in a moment of hyper relevance, to steal another page out of Andy's book, those 4 guys, Kareem Hunt, Jerome Ford, Nico Collins, Nathaniel Tank Dell, I think that's the time to sell them. So we're going to segue into the audience. So let's bring back in Connor and give him some time to set some things up, because at the beginning of the audience, I would like to bring in some of my DMs and emails. So Trevor Atkins asks, before I got addicted to your show and making wise investments, I bought singles of every 2022 Topps Chrome short print He spent approximately $700. He says there are 20 plus the super short prints of Julio Rodriguez, Hunter Green, CJ Abrams, Torkelson, Witt Jr. I graded some and got 9 5s and 10s. Since the 2023 Topps Chrome has already been released, these are non-first, non-Bowman's, obsolete, and therefore should I sell ASAP? Or can non-first, non-auto short prints hold value over time? I got a knee-jerk reaction to this, but I'm going to take a step back and hand it over to our baseball expert, Lefty McKee.
Can you summarize what they're asking? Like, I think it got too long for me.
Yeah, not surprised. Okay. These are Topps Chrome short print from 2022.
Okay. And then they wanted to know.
They want to know. Yeah. So 2023 has already been released. So there's that factor. Have they lost value? Because did they ever have value to begin with? Is question number one.
Yeah. Okay.
Have they lost value since that, or is that not a factor? Should he, basically the real question is, should he sell right now just to get what he can for these cards? Because he's kind of acknowledging they weren't the greatest calls to begin with, or can they hold value over time?
Yeah. Okay. So I would definitely get out of what you could. You're kind of relying on a collector there that actually knows with what you're talking about. We talk about on the show, like, you don't want to convince somebody that it's worth buying, and sometimes like short prints and things like that can be that. A lot of times people are just looking for autos, which is, like, it sounds like what you don't have as well. And so I would get out of it what you could. I just actually did that with my collection, where basically I looked at everything that I had marginally invested in over the last thanks, Chad. Thanks for jumping into the live chat here. And having an opportunity to get some money back, I think is a big deal, and able to make a new investment into something that's going to help win you money. Like, I don't want to ride it further down. I'd rather ride it up, even if it's small. So,
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So I would say, Trevor, to summarize, get what you can, reinvest that money into something better now that you know what you're doing because you're listening to us. Jordan Hawk has a similar question. He said, I just got back into cards via Fanatics advertising catching me, and now I'm hooked. I've been stocking up on MLB players from playoff teams. My plan is to list the players during the playoff series I think they will lose and hold my predicted World Series teams cards until the final series. My question is, will most of my buyers be burnt out on buying by the end of the series? For example, if I'm holding Acuna cards and he is World Series MVP, will his cards spike or will the hype already be gone? I really enjoy your podcast. Go easy on him here, Lefty. I'm gonna go over to you here to answer Jordan's question again, Lefty, because you're a little bit nicer than me. I want to give Jordan a good answer too, but Lefty, what do you think?
Yeah, you've probably bought in at the peak, which is unfortunate. Usually playoff baseball is long enough and displays like and is a slow enough cycle to get to the end that you don't see a lot of hype when they actually get to the finals. And so I would actually sell everything right when the playoffs start if your players are in the playoffs. And because predicting, well, one, also you're predicting that your series is going to go to the way that you think it does. And if I know anything about Vegas, they are good at making money off of people doing what they think is going to happen. And so, like, sell everything now because you never know what's going to happen. And then you're going to hold guys you could have gotten money on that are going to lose, and then their market's going to be over. I would just sell everything as soon as the playoffs start.
Yeah, great point, Lefty. And I'll just add that I think, Jordan, this is a fun strategy. Like shout out Dr. Crack Chad Guell. Love that he's commenting. We miss you. We miss having you on the show. We'll see you back next week. But Dr. Crack does a great job of saying, like, look, sometimes, guys, this has to be fun. And so this strikes me as like a fun sort of side betting variety of your sports card investment portfolio versus actually trying to make money on it, Jordan, because like the way to make money on baseball would be to buy your Jackson Holidays, Jackson Churios, James Woods now and like double down on those guys because you're going to make money when they get the call up, or do like the Ellie De La Cruz strategic plays that Lefty Lefty brought up earlier in this show, when those happen, but those are few and far between. So, but like, to me, this is cool because if you want to spend, say, if you want to give yourself like 10% of your overall sports card bankroll to do this kind of fun stuff, like, great, have fun doing it. I got two more and then we're going to get over to Connor. So Sports and Trading Cards on Instagram DM'd me at Sports Card Strategy. Nick Chubb, career-ending injury or still investable? We've heard not a career-ending injury. That's good news. Still investable. Andy, over to you for this one. Is Nick Chubb, like, what do you do? Is Nick Chubb a play right now?
Not yet. No, not yet. He will become a play towards the end of October, beginning of November. I think will be his biggest dip. He suffered a similar injury as this going back to college. This one was a little bit more severe, and obviously he's now a few years older, so that's definitely going to affect him. But he's not quite yet hit the age apex or the carry apex. So I think he still becomes a play. He's a very good running back, probably arguably the best running back right now in the league in terms of efficiency whenever he is healthy. So yeah, he will become a play for me. Especially when you combine the scarcity of 2018 rookie cards. And I do kind of see him as a Browns lifer. So I feel like, there's
Thank God.
a pretty big collection base for him there in Cleveland.
That's a good point. PCing comes into play when you're going to make a play on a guy. And that's a good point about Nick Chubb. Speaking of PC, just a quick shout out to Jerry Wise, Sports Wise Cards on Instagram, DM'd me about some stories about his PC. I did want everybody who was watching and listening to the Sports Card Strategy show and tell to kind of submit some of their PC stories to me. So Jerry, we're going to reach out to you with some information on how to get you on the Sports Card Strategy show and tell show. For those of you interested in getting on the show and tell, email Sonia at nooffseason.com. That's SONIA at nooffseason.com. We want to get you on the Sports Card Strategy show and tell. But let's get into the more audience Q&A from the live chat on today's show. So Connor, over to you, man. It's your show, baby.
Yeah, let's stick in the football world for a second. But Paul, I actually have a question for you. Janelle Shue a bit late on buying Caleb Williams, but is still looking to get in. Bowman Chrome bases are going for around $80 or $90. Do we think at that price point that it's still a good investment opportunity?
On the PSA 10, I'm assuming those are what Janelle's referring to. I would say that there's still several Caleb Williams plays here, potentially. I think if you can get in auctions for Caleb Williams cards, I'm much more comfortable recommending that you get in auctions than getting in buy it now or best offer. Reason being, I think the people that have the buy it now or best offer listed are listing them in an inflated fashion in anticipation of future hype spikes for Caleb Williams. Even though there's a lot of hype around him right now, there are future markers for him that will drive his cards up even further. And for that reason, I think you can still make plays on him. I think if your budget's lower and you want to do a Bowman Chrome base first, like Connor's talking about and Janelle's asking about, I think you can buy them raw and get them graded. There's still enough runway to do that at PSA. I think you can buy PSA 10s if they're in auctions. I think they will go up in value. Not as much upside in the base Bowman Chrome first PSA 10 Caleb Williams is, but I still think it could work the same way it does, like we talk about baseball prospects. So I think the answer there is yes, Janelle. But Andy made a point about getting it in at the right price in one of his earlier segments. And so I think the auctions will help you do that versus the buy it now or best offer. You just kind of don't know. And there's not a ton of Caleb Williams comps. There's a lot of cards. And because there's not a ton of comps, it lets me believe that there's still a lot of plays to be made. So I really like it.
Yeah, good stuff there, Paul. And I don't know if you guys feel differently, but I also feel like, we're talking about, Paul, and you've been preaching the NFL draft as Caleb Williams marker, but I think for people that are investing in him, he's going to have plenty of different markers even before then for people that, decide they've made their money and want to get in different plays. He's still first in the Heisman race. USC could go deep. So I think there's a lot of different things that people could be looking at there if they do want to pick up more affordable Williams prints right now.
Totally agree. I've seen it with other athletes like Shedeur Sanders and Marvin Harrison Jr. You can quick flip their cards for $1. You can make a good profit margin like from week to week, like how Andy does with pro football. You can do that in college football right now because we have those investable cards that are out thanks to Topps and Bowman and, even some of the other brands with the NIL stuff. You can definitely make some quick flips in college and definitely with Caleb Williams. So I agree.
Nice. Let's stick with quarterbacks here. Andy, I got a question for you. Mindy Thorne actually had a W, bought a 2020 Phoenix Jordan Love Fireburst in PSA 10 on consignment for just $30 and was able to sell it on eBay for $70. How are you feeling about Mindy Thorne, how are you feeling about Jordan Love as a sell right now?
Yeah, and when you have that kind of profit, it does make sense to sell. I'm a big advocate of selling anytime you're meeting your desired profit margin to keep the product moving and making that money. But at the same time, I do see still additional upside. Paul talked about the Green Bay Packers system a little bit earlier in the stream, but they do have a great system. I mean, they're solid. They're a very solid team. The NFC North now is kind of come down to between them and the Lions. And so I believe that Green Bay's got everything it takes to make the playoffs. You had an insane fourth quarter, 18-point comeback, almost broke NFL history yesterday for Jordan Love. And a lot of that was on him. I mean, it's fantastic. And he's without two of his best playmakers in Aaron Jones and Christian Watson. We haven't even seen Christian Watson play yet this year. So still a lot of upside for Jordan Love. And it's easy because that 2020 draft class is so loaded. So you can pull Jordan Love up, pull his optic hollow up, put it right next to put it next to Burrow. But I'm not saying that he's going to get up to Burrow. You could more realistic is to put him next to Hurts, put him next to Herbert, put him next to Tua right now. And if there's still a big difference, if the Jordan Loves are still, I would say even as much as 10 to 20% lower than the Hurts, the Herbert, the Tuas, that's just it's a easy buy at that point, and that you're still left with upside.
Sure, yeah, and me and Paul, we were talking about this within the last few days about still liking Jordan Love as a buy. He's certainly been playing well, but like Paul's been mentioning, it's a question of how much of that system is really leading him to success there, or if he's really different. But
there's a lot of mechanics.
Calm and collected. He doesn't look like as out of sorts as his predecessor. I can't remember the guy's name, but Love looks real good out there.
Yeah, there's mechanics and decision making markers that we've seen from Jordan Love so far this year that have been really good. So from that standpoint, and then. My guy Carter, co-host on my weekly podcast, pointed out that Jordan Love's signature is very unique with the J heart, and I think that's pretty cool. And so Jordan Love's got a lot of unique things about him, I think, that give a lot of upside. As you got this whole lore around the quarterbacks and the Green Bay Packers that Paul loves so much. I know he does, and so I think that you've got a serious opportunity where it's a pretty safe investment, I think, at this point for Jordan Love. The only thing I think that's really going to derail his stock is an injury, but you can't predict those.
I might buy the mid-season dip on Jordan Love. Andy talked about the mid-season dip coming up soon, and Jordan Love could be on my short list for a mid-season dip. We'll see. I like it.
Bang. We're going to stick with football for just a minute here. Some more stuff for you, Andy, specifically from Brian Steeler 714. With the college playoffs expanding and the home playoff games coming, will college uniform cards become more popular?
Yes, and they have. There's been a big adoption of the Bowman Chrome First. Those cards with the little First logo that I know Kendall is such a big fan of for his baseball cards. Those have definitely picked up steam, guys. I mean, if you saw, and a lot of that's being driven, I guess, by the recent hype for Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter being printed in this new product. But that product sold out so fast. But even when I go back and I look at this past draft class, I picked up a couple Hendon Hookers. I made some plays on guys that were coming into the league from Bowman first, and those are the cards I sold first. Those ones that were from Bowman University Chrome with the first logo. They've got serial numbered versions. They've got the rookie auto versions. Those cards are liquid, man. Those cards are liquid. They have a higher average resale value than cards like Onyx and Leaf. When they're available, people will gravitate towards those cards first. So I think as Bowman becomes more and Fanatics becomes more relevant in the hobby, those cards are just going to continue to pick up steam, and people are seeing, hey, I can make money on college players, because there's a lot of less obvious players outside of like Caleb Williams that you could make plays on. Let's in the next month after Bowman University makes its way through the breakers and the big consignment houses, and they start pumping those auctions up, there's going to be an illusion of a massive supply that come NFL draft time next year, it's going to be hard to find certain players at a good price. But I think there's going to be some good prices to be had on some of those rookie cards if you know the players to look for.
Tap the rewind button like 4 times, whatever it takes, to go back and listen to what Andy just said, like 4 more times. Like that, like seriously, you guys can make a lot of money. Rewind, listen to Connor's question, listen to all of Andy's answer, listen to it 4 times in a row, and then go execute the plays. Couldn't agree more.
I feel like I could ask Andy legitimately any question about anything, and I'm getting that sort of energy and knowledge in a response. So good job there, man.
That's true.
As long as it's football card related.
We got a lot of stuff in here question-wise. As usual, guys, I'm just going to say it. If we don't get to your question, make sure to leave a comment on the YouTube channel, and we will try to give you some feedback there. Let's give Lefty a little bit of love. He's been waiting patiently in that top right corner. Let's talk Spencer Strider. Ryan McBinnon lists Spencer Strider auto as a buy it now, intending to wait for playoffs to sell, but got an offer the same day they couldn't refuse. How are you feeling about Spencer Strider, Lefty?
I think he's incredible. I think he is one of the best pitchers that the game has right now. I mean, Strider is doing statistically, if you look at some of his measurements, he is one of the best, if not the best, in the game right now. And so the Braves are just having yet another, like the Braves they are criminally underpaying most of their players, and people keep signing extensions for way less than they deserve just because they want to be on the Braves, which is insane. So the Braves are going to be good for a long, long time. Spencer Strider is very good at throwing the baseball. And I think making a buy it now and a win for a pitcher on a sports card is a win in itself. Like if you were able to make a W on a pitcher's auto, no matter if it was before the playoffs, then you won, man. So Ryan, great job listing it. I think sometimes it takes some gumption to list a guy when he's the best ever, because you want to hold out for that top 10% of where it's going to go. But I think you did a great job here listing and selling. So great job.
Hope that's
pitcher. Love it.
Oh yeah. Sticking with baseball, Shane Graham, sell of the week is Junior Caminero, but they have not seen his prices spike quite yet. Obviously, we talk a lot about using that marker. Lefty, what do you think investors should be doing here if they are holding Caminero and haven't seen that profit boost yet, in terms of taking on more risk and waiting an extended period of time?
Yeah, I wish Chad was here to talk about this one, because this one was one that when we were texting back and forth, this wasn't as plain as day of a sale as it normally is. Normally we're like, hey, as soon as they hit, you're selling everything Caminero. And I think because of the way he came up, because of the Rays being in this just weird spot where Wander has kind of put an asterisk on the whole team, Caminero, this is a risky play, guys. So if you're going to follow me, then follow me here. But if you're not, I understand. I'm going to say don't sell your Camineros yet. I'm going to say sell them either A, if he blows up in the playoffs, or B, sell him at the beginning of spring training when the Wander stuff is a little bit more figured out and he is the bona fide starting shortstop for day one.
I see where Lefty and Chad are going with this, and I do not disagree with them at all. I think it's very intelligent points that they make. And Chad did text Lefty and I and kind of hint that might not be a whole lot of playing time for him because he's on the good team, and his hype spike could be in spring training. So I don't disagree. However, I would say contextually, it depends on what you bought the Caminero cards for, how long you've been holding them, and what your other plans are. Because we did send out a sell alert on Caminero, and I do believe that if you're in the context of you made the play when we told you to make the play on nooffseason.com, which was over the summer, that you would make money. So if you're holding the card and you're ready to make money, I would do it. But I agree with what Lefty and Chad are saying, is that if it is kind of an L because you're either waiting cards to get back to you from PSA, or you maybe bought in a little higher and need a little bit more profit, that there could still be some room there. So,
I'm not willing to buy into him though right now. So Rusty asks, well, do we buy Caminero if there's not a spike yet? No, I don't believe we buy in right now. I think we buy in December.
Yep. That's a good call. Good call. And that's why we do this show. And that's why we talk to you guys about these things, because there's no real like set it and forget it with this stuff. It just changes all the time. It's different based on your scenario. So that's why we love doing the audience Q&A and, really trying to help everybody. So good stuff.
Yeah, it looks like Chad's on the same page there with you guys. Paul, let's talk a little bit of basketball real quick. Oh, my shoes. Basketball cards. I've been buying them all off season. Is now the time to submit?
Submit, meaning submit to PSA? No, because you will get them back too late to sell during the first selling window, which I believe will be the end of October. Like I expect to see a rise in basketball card prices and a spike in those who overperform at the end of October, early November. Then I expect to see a dip, the same way Andy talks about a mid-season dip in football card prices. I expect to see that dip actually happen in December. Like as soon as, the NBA mid-season tournament will end, I believe, after the first week of December. I expect to see a dip in the remaining weeks of December. There should be a dip in basketball card prices. So shoes, if you need grading to up your prices, I would go to SGC. You're going to have lower upside, but you're going to have your cards in your hand, which is the most important thing when you're trying to sell cards. If you're talking about submit to list them to eBay submit, I would say wait a few weeks. I actually have a calendar reminder set for myself to list my basketball cards starting in like the end of the first week of October. So like a couple of weeks, I'm going to start my 10-day auctions. I'm going to list my Cade Cunninghams, my Wembanyamas. So actually real quick, I'm going to slide one in here, Connor, before we get back to you. I did make a buy alert for the Victor Wembanyama Panini Instant. And then I got a lot of questions. What's the play? Which is fair. I think the play is to get those cards graded immediately upon getting them back from Panini, to try to be the first to market with graded Spurs Wemby cards. I believe that that's the path to profit there. Probably not huge upside, but probably like a consistent clip of profiting, like hopefully $20 to $30 a card on those. I would assume they would be PSA 10s, maybe a couple of 9s, because unless they shove them into penny sleeves and top loaders and put Scotch tape on them to piss off.
We're back.
But anyway, I think this goes to Shoes' question. Like we're in a scenario where if you're looking at grading basketball cards right now, I'd go to SGC for the quick turnaround time. Other than the Wembys, I think the Wembys can go to PSA. He'll have a little bit of longer runway because Hoops and Donruss and that stuff won't come out until January, February. You could still be first to market with the Panini Instant with PSA. And if you're looking to list basketball cards, I would wait till I'd start my 10-day auctions in mid-October.
Paul always has basketball knowledge. Let's assume for a minute that you're ready to sell. And we'll look at, let's find it real quick. Give me just 1 second. Dustin
got a lot
Bailey.
of basketball questions right now.
A lot of basketball questions. Do we think it's better to hold guys like Chet, Cade, Paolo, or sell during the preseason hype? So I'm assuming they're referring to holding them into the regular season to see how they do based on player performance, or getting them listed kind of at the early peak hype cycle?
This is a great question. So if you have base graded cards of these guys, I would sell during the preseason hype. If you have bigger cards like kabooms, rookie ticket autos, national treasures stuff, serial numbered stuff, variation prism PSA 10s that are short print, I think you could hold those because I think all three of these guys have enough draft capital. Since we have Andy Cason on the show, that's his phrase. They have enough draft capital to have long runways. Like even if Cade gets hurt again or Chet gets hurt again or Paolo underperforms, if you have bigger cards, I would hold for a big moment. Like wait till a big moment. Don't just like ride the wave of the season starting, but definitely like get out of your base cards that you've been holding ready to sell. I think that's the play.
Good stuff. One more basketball card, and I tried to do a quick Google search on this, but I wasn't able to find some feedback. So I'm curious if you have the answer. If you don't, Paul, I will find it after the show and get back to Card Snatcher. But Bronny James. Does Bronny James have a first auto coming out with the McDonald's All-American drop in the next 2 days?
I think the answer is yes to the card. I don't know about the timing of the card. I think that's what we'll have to pay attention to. But that would be Topps, I believe. I believe that's the company that does those.
The quick Google search says no for the 2022 Topps Chrome All-American. So I'm assuming this would be the 23 drop, correct?
Yeah, that would be his first investable card for sure. But I don't know when it's coming out. I think I saw a photo of it when I was doing some research for an article, but I don't know when it's coming out. Good question.
Definitely might be something to keep an eye on for us if we're talking hype cycles. And I mean, that could be a college version of Shedeur Sanders. For
sure. Like a buy alert. Like Lefty sent me a text about the release Andy mentioned, the football 2023 Bowman U football release. And Lefty and I went and bought 2 boxes each. And then I thought, well, I probably should have sent a buy alert out for that. It sold out pretty quick. So we'll try to keep an eye on that, Card Snatcher.
Good stuff. Hopping back over to football stuff. Andy, you've been talking about making some money on position players or skill players, which I think is more interesting because that's not always typically what we're pitching. And I'm doing a lot of learning from my end. So learning from Paul and Chad and Lefty. I'm finding it interesting to see how you're making money on skill position players. Greeny Green wants to know if using the injury dip on Jameson Williams and Christian Watson, if that's a good place to be placing your money right now.
Well, it can be. It's got potential, but you still have to kind of compare the specific card that you're looking at. So say if you found a Christian Watson rookie ticket auto in auction, maybe let's say it's an Optic Contenders Silver Prism rookie ticket autos to be specific. And you've got that in auction right now. Maybe it's at $18. Maybe it ends tomorrow night and you're watching it. You're thinking about buying it. It looks like a good deal. And you want to put your max bid in, but you want to go and look at what some of these other guys in the draft class from last year are doing. So it's important to kind of compare him against other players in the same draft class. So what is the Jameson Williams selling for? Because he's going to make a comeback here when he gets off of suspension here in week 7. So you could potentially find a pretty nice dip on him right now. I think Christian Watson will be back this week. So depending on what their comparable players. So I would go look at like Jahan Dotson, for example, see what he's selling at. If you want to look at the top end, you look at Garrett Wilson, see what he's selling at. He's a sell guy for me right now. By the way, I would look at Chris Olave, who is probably a really good one to look at, who's got a lot of hype, has had a decent start to the season. Now we've got an injury concern with Derek Carr, but I think that may actually work out in Olave's favor because Winston's he's a YOLO guy that's going to just let it rip, and Olave's a deep. So, but anyways, I digress. It's important to go and look at what some of these other guys from the same draft class are selling for in the same exact card as close as you can find. You can also do it with the guys from 2021 and 2020 as well. I would not recommend you go and do it with guys from 2019 because that's when the scarcity really jumps up. So yeah, it's still important to do that draft class comparing, but it is possible to find opportunities for those two guys specifically. It is tough because they are they've flashed before, especially Christian Watson last year, and the Green Bay Packers have such a massive fan base that there's a lot of people still all over his rookie card. So it could still be tough, but let's say you find an auction that's ending Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. when like everybody's busy working and doing stuff. Not a whole lot of people are thinking about Christian Watson, Silver Prism rookie ticket auto at that point. And you could then snipe him for, 20 to maybe 50% under comps. It's possible.
Great stuff, Andy Cason from Football Card Quest. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to see you much more often here on the nooffseason.com sports card network. Check him out at Football Card Quest, everybody. He does great work on his podcast, his YouTube channel, his Patreon, patreon.com/footballcards. Go subscribe to him. It's worth the money for sure. Guys, we see you out there. We see more and more coming into the live chat. We got more questions coming in. We got a wrap for the day. So rest assured, all of you global, Greg Bryan, Mo Nahar, congrats on your win. $2,500 card to pay off his credit card debt. Love that. Joel Kaplan. We're going to get to all of your questions on nooffseason.com, on the Discord. Don't forget to DM me at Sports Card Strategy. Drop a comment below. We will answer it. I'll put something out on Jaden Hardy, Greeny Green. I see you. I'll put something out on Jaden Hardy, but we got to go for today. Everybody, thanks so much for watching and listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show. Don't forget to text sports cards to 1-833-992-5727 for your buy and sell alerts. That's sports cards to 1-833-992-5727. And don't forget to check out all of us on Whatnot. Lefty and I are going to disrupt the you-know-what out of Whatnot on October 25th. Lefty, you have something to add before we go today, man? What do you have to say?
I got to go to the bathroom. Cue the rock music.
All right. Sonia, take us out.
Thank you for listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show brought to you by nooffseason.com. Don't forget to get your sell alerts by texting sports cards to 1-833-992-5727. Follow us on Instagram at Sports Card Strategy. And if you feel like the show is valuable to your sports card investment strategy, we would love a review. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the show. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.